Car companies bracing for new tariffs President Trump is planning on auto imports. Stellantis and General Motors seeing shares down after Trump's 25% tariff announcement. Tesla, too, says they are not immune to the impacts of tariffs. Elon Musk posting today that despite Tesla having several assembly plants in the U.S., the company is, quote, not unscathed here. The cost impact is not trivial. Here with us now is Cory Johnson, the chief market strategist for Epistrophy and the host of the Drill Down podcast. Cory, welcome. So Musk says Tesla could be impacted by these tariffs, but we saw Tesla's stock go up today as opposed to Ford and Stellantis. Do you think he's right?
It could be impacted. It'll be really good for Tesla. If you look at all of the car makers in the world that sell in the U.S., right? U.S. car makers make parts in Mexico, makes cars in Mexico and Canada and Korea. German car makers who make cars in the U.S. If you look at German car makers who import cars, look at all of the car makers selling in the U.S. The number one car maker that's going to benefit the most from these announced tariffs is Tesla. So will they be impacted? Yes, because they will have the least impact of any of their other competitors.
So what does this mean for Tesla's future? And do you anticipate Tesla's stock tumbling a bit here?
If it's anything, it's good for Tesla stock. I don't do stock predictions. I don't have a long or short position in Tesla stock. We have seen the value of Tesla stock since these tariffs have really come into focus in the last few days. We've seen the value of Tesla shares increase by more than $100 billion. So the market clearly thinks that this is going to be good for Tesla, and it certainly will. Do they have a few parts that come from overseas? Absolutely. Do they have less than any other car maker? Absolutely. So if, a company like Volkswagen, which makes Porsche, Porsche is going to see the worst impact because their cars are entirely made in Germany, and they'll face these 25% imports. That also affects other Porsche-made cars like Volkswagen-made cars like Volkswagen, I should say. It's going to affect some cars like Audi, which are made in a Volkswagen plant. But you're going to see mixed results. I have a Jeep in my front yard, but or not my front yard. That would be awkward. It's actually in the driveway. But 25% of that car's parts are made in overseas, and will affect the price of new versions of that vehicle. My Porsche also in the driveway, hopefully still. However, those prices are going to go right through the roof.
Going back to General Motors and Stellantis, both, like I mentioned, saw a decline on Wall Street. But do you think that's temporary?
So if these tariffs come into effect, it's going to hurt their business here. I think, the big thing going on here in terms of the other automakers, the automakers have more complex supply chains and make a lot more cars than Tesla, is that they've got a very complex supply chain based on understanding the rules of the road, pun intended. But they recognize that maybe the aluminum might be mined in Canada. They'll have it sort of initially tooled across the border in Detroit, then send back to Windsor, Canada, and Ontario to fine-tuned and come back across the border again to be assembled. Those really complex supply chains that reduce the amount of inventory a car maker has to have in hand at any given time, so they can have just-in-time manufacturing, just-in-time capabilities to keep prices lower for consumers. That's out the window when companies can't plan anymore and don't know what their costs are going to be going forward. But Tesla is really good news for Tesla.
You mentioned the risks to foreign cars like Porsche and Mercedes. Do you think we'll see some car companies shift their plants here to the United States? Or will prices just go up for me and you and other Americans, other consumers?
We know that prices will go up in the short term. Over the long term, will companies make 5, 10, 15-year decisions about where they're going to build plants and things, and how will those change because of these off-again, on-again tariffs? If we knew these are the rules of the road, again, for the next 10 years, companies would plan around that. Maybe they might change manufacturing. Slapping these tariffs on does one thing for certain, which is raise prices for foreign manufactured cars from overseas. I like to take the cynic's look, because whenever I look at what a government does, regardless of administration, I like to take the cynic's view, at least try to figure things out, especially when it comes to money. And if you follow the money, what if you took the $250 million that Elon Musk contributed to the Trump campaign and thought of it more as an investment, not a contribution? That's a cynic's view, to be sure. But if you look at it as an investment, he gave $250 million to the Trump campaign and is coming out with a $100 billion increase in the value of the stock in the last week. It's a cynic's view, but I think that we have to follow the money here and understand the financial impacts of whom the tariffs apply to, and keep an eye out for who will get exceptions from these tariffs.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.